What if the answer Army has been searching for was never hidden in a dramatic announcement, never explained in an interview, and never meant to become a headline at all? What if the reason Mr. Lee is so often seen moving beside BTS, especially during the most important and unpredictable moments of their journey, is actually connected to something much simpler and much more emotional than anyone expected? Toronto has once again become the center of attention, and this time, fans are looking beyond the stage lights, the screaming crowds, and the spectacular performances. They are looking at the man who almost always seems to appear just a few steps away from the seven members. Why is Mr. Lee there? Why does he seem especially alert whenever Jungkook is moving through a crowded area? Why does the manager frequently remain close to him? And could a small moment in Toronto have finally given Army a clue? Before we go any further, let us make one thing clear. This story is presented as an entertainment-style narrative inspired by the public image and fan discussions surrounding BTS and Mr. Lee, not as a claim that a secret explanation was officially revealed in Toronto. But that distinction may actually make the mystery even more fascinating, because sometimes the most powerful stories are found not in official statements, but in the tiny moments people notice when the cameras are rolling. If you have ever wondered why Mr. Lee appears so consistently around BTS, stay with this story until the end, because the answer may be much less mysterious and far more meaningful than the internet has imagined. And before we continue, tell us in the comments, when you see Mr. Lee beside BTS, do you think you're looking at nothing more than professional security, or do you believe years of working together have created a deeper bond? If you are an Army who has noticed Mr. Lee protecting, guiding, or simply watching over the members, hit like, subscribe, and join the conversation, because this Toronto moment opens a fascinating window into the invisible world surrounding one of the biggest groups on the planet. Toronto was already buzzing with anticipation. The city had become another major stop in the enormous BTS Arirang era, and wherever BTS appeared, the atmosphere seemed to change instantly. Fans gathered around the venue, phones were raised, cameras were ready, and every movement connected to the group became a potential viral moment. Yet amid all the excitement, there was another figure repeatedly attracting attention. He was not carrying a microphone. He was not standing beneath the spotlight. He was not performing choreography. He was not waving to the crowd. He was simply doing what he has become known for doing: watching, observing, moving, and protecting. Mr. Lee. For years, fans have become familiar with the man in the dark suit who can often be seen walking ahead of BTS, beside them, or behind them. To casual observers, he might look like any professional security officer. But to longtime Army, his presence has become almost recognizable as part of the visual language surrounding BTS. He is there when the members leave a building. He is there when they enter a vehicle. He is there around airports, venues, backstage areas, and crowded public spaces. He is there when thousands of fans are excited, when cameras suddenly appear, and when the distance between celebrity and crowd becomes dangerously small. That consistency is what created the question. Why him? Why is he always there? And why does his presence seem so closely associated with BTS after so many years? The Toronto atmosphere made that question louder. As fans watched the movement around the group, many began paying attention to the choreography that happens away from the concert stage. There's another kind of choreography surrounding BTS, one that most people rarely notice. It involves security personnel, managers, staff members, drivers, venue workers, and countless people whose job is to make sure 7 artists can walk from one location to another without chaos. Every movement has to be calculated. Every door has to be checked. Every pathway has to be considered. Every second matters. And somewhere inside that complex system is Mr. Lee. That is the first clue. He is not necessarily always beside BTS because of one individual member. He is there because his role exists at the intersection of safety, movement, and responsibility. But then comes the second clue, and this is where the story becomes more emotional. Security is not only about physical protection, it is also about familiarity. Imagine working with the same people for years. Imagine knowing how they move when they're tired, how they react when crowds become louder, how quickly they walk when they are late, which direction they instinctively turn, and when one of them suddenly stops to greet a fan. Imagine knowing that a member who normally walks quickly might slow down after a long rehearsal, or that another member might become distracted when he hears fans calling his name. Those details may never appear in a press release, but experienced security personnel learn them because their job depends on understanding the people they protect. That is why the relationship between a security professional and an artist can become remarkably sophisticated without ever becoming public. The public sees a man walking beside BTS. The people working with him may see something entirely different, a professional who has learned the rhythm of the group. Toronto offered a vivid reminder of that invisible rhythm. When a huge crowd is excited, the first instinct of many fans is to move closer. When BTS appears, phones rise. Voices become louder. People instinctively want a better view. That is natural. ARMY's excitement is one of the defining features of BTS's global phenomenon. But excitement creates unpredictability. One person moves forward, another follows, then another. Suddenly, a narrow pathway can become crowded. This is precisely where security professionals become essential. They create distance. They identify risks. They direct movement. They communicate with other staff. They make decisions before the public even realizes that a decision has been made. And this is where Mr. Lee's reputation becomes understandable. His presence is not necessarily about creating drama. It is about preventing drama. The most successful security moment is often the moment nobody notices because nothing went wrong. Yet fans frequently notice him precisely because they have learned to recognize the people behind the scenes. In a strange way, Mr. Lee became familiar because he remained consistent. Over time, his image became associated with BTS's travels, appearances, and major moments. Some fans even affectionately refer to him as an unofficial eighth member, although that label should be understood as a fan expression rather than an official title. The nickname itself reveals something important. Fans rarely develop affection for someone whose only contribution they see as invisible. They noticed him because he was repeatedly present. They noticed his posture. They noticed his awareness. They noticed the way he watched crowds. They noticed the way he moved between BTS and potential obstacles. They noticed moments when he appeared to help fans navigate crowded situations. And they noticed moments of warmth that seemed to exist beneath the seriousness of his professional role. One particularly memorable account from BTS's Goyang comeback described a fan encountering Mr. Lee while trying to reach the soundcheck area. According to that published personal account, he helped create a path through a barricade, allowing the fan to proceed. The story became emotional because the gesture was small. There was no dramatic rescue. There was no cinematic confrontation. There was simply a professional noticing someone who was struggling to move and responding with a practical act of kindness. That kind of moment explains why fans sometimes see more than a security guard when they look at Mr. Lee. They see a person, and that is where the Toronto question becomes even more interesting. Perhaps the reason Mr. Lee is always with BTS is not because there is some hidden secret specifically connected to Jungkook. Perhaps it is because protecting BTS has become a long-term responsibility that requires trust. BTS is not an ordinary group. Their movements attract enormous attention. A simple appearance can generate thousands of people, hundreds of cameras, and countless social media posts within minutes. Their public visibility means that security must operate at a different level. The members need professionals who understand the scale of their environment. They need people who can anticipate rather than react. They need staff who know when to move, when to stop, when to create space, and when to allow the members to interact naturally with fans. Mr. Lee's repeated presence can therefore be understood as part of a larger system rather than a mysterious personal attachment. But fans are emotional observers. They do not only see systems, they see relationships. And after years of watching BTS grow, fans naturally become curious about the people who have remained around them through different chapters. BTS changed dramatically over the years. They went from young artists navigating a competitive industry to global superstars performing in stadiums around the world. Their schedules changed. Their popularity changed. Their responsibilities changed. Their personal lives changed. The world around them changed. Yet certain members of their support system remained recognizable. That continuity is powerful. It creates a sense of history. When fans see Mr. Lee in 2026, they may not simply see a security professional. They may see someone who has been part of the long road behind the scenes. And that may be the biggest reason his presence feels so significant. Toronto did not necessarily reveal a secret. Toronto revealed how closely fans are watching. In an era when every second of BTS's public appearance can be recorded, analyzed, clipped, translated, reposted, and discussed, the people standing behind the artist have become part of the story. A hand gesture can become a headline. A glance can become a theory. A few seconds of footage can inspire thousands of comments. That is the modern celebrity environment. But there is a danger in turning every ordinary professional action into a secret revelation. Not every glance means something. Not every position indicates favoritism. Not every moment between a bodyguard and an artist contains hidden information. Sometimes a bodyguard is simply doing his job. And perhaps that is precisely what makes the story worth telling. Professionalism itself can become extraordinary when the stakes are enormous. Consider Jungkook. As the youngest member of BTS and one of the world's most recognizable performers, his public movements naturally attract enormous attention. Fans have watched him grow from a teenager into an international star. They have seen his confidence develop, his stage presence expand, and his global recognition reach extraordinary levels. With that visibility comes responsibility. When thousands of people want to get closer to him, someone must manage the distance. When fans rush toward a vehicle, someone must create a secure path. When cameras surround him, someone must ensure he can continue moving. That does not necessarily mean Mr. Lee is assigned exclusively to Jungkook. It means that when Jungkook is in a high-pressure environment, experienced security becomes especially visible because the situation requires it. The same principle applies to every member of BTS. RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, V, and Jungkook each have different personalities, different habits, different movements, and different relationships with crowds. A good security team has to protect all seven without making the group feel trapped. That balance is extremely difficult. Too little distance creates danger. Too much distance can make artists feel disconnected from fans. The ideal security environment creates a safe space while allowing the members to remain themselves. That balance may explain why fans sometimes see Mr. Lee standing very close and other times several steps away. Distance is not random. It can change according to the environment. If a hallway is narrow, the security formation changes. If a venue entrance is crowded, more staff may move forward. If the group is walking through an open area, the formation can spread. If cameras suddenly appear, staff may adjust positions.